This is the Bar Stewards Enquiry.
You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
Well, that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Enquiry weekend podcast covering the Cambridgeshire meeting, and we'll also be looking at Haydock and the Irish, there's a race in Ireland, the Beresford, over the Mile of Group 2 affair, which we'll also take a look at. John Leng of John Joe's Blogspot. Evening, John Joe. Good evening. I've ripped off my muzzle from the Jeff Banks and Carnberry. Yes, we put you back down the cellar with Fry, didn't we? We certainly, we've you know, I mean, it was but then you said that's what you do on a Wednesday night. You end up having to go down the cellar with Fry, so there we go. All explained there on Bar Stewards. And joining us also after a stellar debut, I thought anyway, and certainly we had some good feedback regarding Quentin Franks' contribution to the Doncaster meeting. Reasonings are always good, you see, on this. It's not necessarily about the tipping the winners, because obviously everyone can make their mind up once they've heard their explanations, and I thought you did very well, Quentin, for your debut on the show, so welcome again.
Perfect. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, it's the workings that matter, and sometimes the result comes from the workings, so hopefully a bit better this time round.
Exactly, that's it. Logic equals winners, and that's what we like on this show. And we'll kick the show off then with a topic-related question for the weekend. We haven't got many questions. Everyone's fed up of us this week. So it's very light on the questions front. But Ian Davis, who's a staunch listener, he's absolutely rock solid on the questions department. And he starts us off with a couple of questions, really, to races this weekend. And it's to do with the Cambridgeshire to start with. And I'll come to you, John, first of all. He said, is it a help or a hindrance to have a horse with career best form at over 10 furlongs, obviously, in the Cambridgeshire run over 9 furlongs? Do you think that's a help or a hindrance? What would you think?
I'd prefer a horse to have career best form over 10 than I would over 8.
Yeah.
But you'd still have to take the form into some sort of context. I mean, if that career best effort was a standout job and it was run over 10, I don't know, around, say, Haydock, and the race was run at an absolute crawl for the first 6 furlongs, again, you'd have to wonder the worth of that form.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be backed up, I would say, by a rattling good time figure. Otherwise, you're thinking, well, this might have been that just based on how the race was run. You know, there could be holes in that rating, if you like. You know, so, yeah, it's not a bad thing, you know. You wouldn't not back something because its career best was at 10 furlongs. But, you know, you'd have to dig a little bit deeper than just say, I want one in the Cambridgeshire that's done a career best over 10.
Yeah, I mean, there are more variables, aren't there? I mean, Quentin, what do you sort of agree with John there? Have you any preference when looking at the Cambridgeshire for things like that, horses that have got form over slightly further, or
John's basically hit the nail on the head. You know it's going to be run at a good gallop. You want something that stays that little bit further. You know you're going to have to put up a big time figure to win the sort of race. And say you've got John's just hit it on the head. If you've got a horse that's best efforts at 10 furlong, but he hasn't really got a figure to match up because they've crawled, then he may not be no good in this sort of scenario. So no, nothing really more to add than that.
Yeah, it's summed up pretty well by Johnny, and it kind of, there are more variables to that, obviously. If I'd got a horse that was, say, winning in fast times over a mile, but had got a nice quite a middle distance pedigree, then it wouldn't put me off backing an horse in the Cambridgeshire if the pedigree married up that it could improve again for another furlong, etc. But as a rule of thumb, it's the old school way of looking at things. In that if you've got form over 10, a strongly run 9's certainly going to be no problem to run a decent figure. Second question from Ian again. We like racing related questions, especially if it's the weekend in question, and he's regarding the Royal Lodge. And he said, is the Royal Lodge a more informative race for the following year when it was conducted over the old mile at Ascot compared to now at Newmarket? John, any thoughts?
I don't know, really. I think a lot of these back-end 2-year-old pattern races, they have sort of peaks and troughs, you know. I mean, you go back to like 78, and Troy was beating Elamano, or Elamanamo was beating Troy, one or other, I can't remember. And, you know, I mean, that was pretty instructive, whether the result was next year's derby. But then you had quite a lull, you know, where you had horses that maybe Group 3 listed class fighting out the race, and you end up with Franco running in it. You know, I don't think you can say one race in particular is more instructive than another. I think it just depends on what you've got that particular year, how it falls in the calendar. You know, there's a lot of variables about it now, especially how they've messed about with the actual pattern as regards these type of races, you know, because we thought it was pretty difficult to run in Royal Lodge and Joworth, wasn't it, initially? And then now the same result, they don't mind doing that. And, you know, I think the pattern maybe needs to re-establish its pattern, for want of a better word.
The pattern's done a runner.
There's no pattern to the pattern. Sort of thing, you know. It's all a bit fluffy, isn't it? You know, I mean, you get like Joworth Day, and then what is it? Is it the Middle Park same day or something like that? It's just all cobblers, really, isn't it? You know. You just got to work out what's great what, and then hope a few of them train on. Really. Yeah.
It's actually Middle Park tomorrow. Is it Cheveley Park on Cheveley Park now?
Cheveley Park's tomorrow as well, isn't it? Maybe give it another tweak, have they? Yeah, you know.
So they run. So they run in. Have they always done that then? Run the fillies on the same fillies and colts on the.
It used to be the same meeting, didn't it? The Cheveley Park and the Middle Park, but. We had a spell where the Middle Park was 35 minutes before the Joworth, so you would pushing it to try and do the double.
Do you see where I look incredibly stupid? So obviously, you know, I've studied tomorrow's cards, and I don't even know what Cheveley Park and Middle Park on the same date.
Park or the Middle Park, is it? It's a 3:10 and a 2:30.
John, you've summed it up, because I mean, when I was younger, I used to remember the actual order perfectly well. You know, because it was the set pattern, and since they've fiddled about and messed with about and sent it to different tracks, I can no longer keep track of what's where.
It's coming from one year to next now. It's absolute shit, really.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we need an established pattern. The pattern's not got a pattern. No. Quentin, anything to add to our inane ramblings?
Not really, to be honest. It's John hit the nail on the head once again. Like you get horses turning up, whether it be when it was at Ascot or if it's at Newmarket, and you get roaring lions, Frankles. It swings and roundabouts. Like, truth be told, one thing I'd like to add is I'd much rather it be on a round course. I don't think we get enough good quality 2-year-old races on a round course. So that's I'd like to see it back at Ascot for that reason, to be honest.
Do you know what? I totally agree with that. I do love the round mile at Ascot. I think it's reasonably fair. you will get the odd hard luck story, but I agree totally. That round mile at Ascot is that I do like to see races around there.
Isn't it depressing that the QA2 is on the straight mile now?
Yeah,
God, it's horrible. It's like watching Redcar in Newcastle. Just I hate straight. I hate nothing wrong with Redcar or Newcastle or Doncaster or any other place past Watford Gap, but I just dislike straight miles, to be honest.
Quentin's took the top of your off stump there, John. Like that, John's local track, and Quentin's like just that ball that nips off the seam, and it's just took the top
I was just watching it go through the keeper.
I mean,
it's like the bear laugh, isn't it?
Yeah. There you go. More disdain for your local track, John. There's plenty of that. There's plenty of Southerners giving it their all about poor Redcar. That seems to get a lot of hammer these days. But yeah, that's a good point from Quentin that regarding top 2-year-old race on a nice round course. I mean, the Aussies they have a lot of obviously round course racing and something like Rosehill or Ranwick. They're really good flat tracks on the turn, and I think it's quite a good spectacle to see an horse quickening down the straight off a turn. And yeah, I get that.
Conversely, I rather like the fact that there used to be a Group 1 race over a mile and a quarter for 3-year-olds and up.
Yeah.
On the straight.
What was that then?
The Champion Stakes at Newmarket.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where else could you get that?
That is actually that's true. So, yes, of course, yeah, of course. I'm getting confused here as well, right? I need your help. I'm sure I'm getting dementia. But the Sun Chariot, is that still at Newmarket?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the straight mile and a quarter at Newmarket for the Sun Trip.
Straight mile now, isn't it?
Is it a mile? So they've knocked it down to a mile?
I think so. Yeah.
God, we need some answers here, folks. I think
let's have a look. Yeah, it's a mile.
Yeah.
Is it? Don't tell me it's.
Yeah, I think it's always been a mile.
Oh, good God! I think this is not good from me tonight. I'm having a mare. Why have I always thought the Sun Chariot's over?
I thought it was a mile and a quarter a while back.
No. It couldn't have always been a mile. The times say otherwise. So yeah, they've changed the times. They've changed the distance, which has obviously changed the times then. Right.
So has the Sun Chariot always been a mile or over 10 at any point? Do we know?
Over 10 furlongs, 1999 and before, I think.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We're showing our age here, John. This is embarrassing. So I have been betting for another 22 years since the Sun Chariot's changed distance.
And you're not noticed it short.
And I've not. There's no wonder I come under affordability checks.
You're backing out with artists and thinking, bloody hell, he's leaving this late.
Yeah, I mean, anyone listening to this, I mean, we've got our regular listeners that know I'm no wagon. But I mean, if we've got a new listener tonight, you're going to think I'm a complete and utter wagon. And rightfully so, by the way. Yeah. Send your comments in. Yeah, give me some abuse. I deserve it. Anyways, so on to tomorrow's racing, which clearly I don't even know what races are running tomorrow. We've already established that. In fact, we'll go to Haydock first for some calmer waters, and we'll go to the 205 race, which is on ITV4. It's the mile Betway Handicap. And 7 go to post currently. You never know with Haydock. Usually get about 14 non-runners. By about 6 a.m. tomorrow when it's either too firm or too soft, as Kirkland often produces weird ground. Noble Dynasty heads the market at 7-4. Best price for Charlie Appleby, the Magic Carrots team, and Adam Farraher. Quentin, I'm coming to you first for your selection in the Haydock opener.
I liked Happy Tim's horse here, Cruyff Turn. Setup of the race, it was they dropped him out at air, which I thought was strange, but there was a bit more pace signed on there. Travelled well up to 2-pole, found trouble again, finished with running left, and he was just left with too much to do. There's absolutely no pace, so I'm not sure what leads it, to be honest. So they bounced him out at York. I suspect they'll do the same. You've got Noble Dynasty at the top of the market. He looks a weak favourite. Kind of got up close home at Thirsk, but that form's ropey. Boland Park got beat at Pontefract yesterday or Wednesday. One of them. And then the second in that race got beat earlier at York. Young Fire needs softer ground, tell a lie. Latest Generation's a bit of a pig, but he's been gelded. That may help. A Fark is a Fark. United Front travelled well at Yarmouth, hung left, and finished with running left. He was semi-interesting, but again, I don't think the race will set up for him. And then you had Nugget, who he's kind of gone missing in the summer. He's probably got the strongest form coming into the race, but why has he been off 147 days? The one thing with that is he goes well fresh. Nottingham earlier in this year, he was hard fit, like really razor sharp fit for that run, and he was unlucky that day. So he can obviously be turned out to run well first up. But I think Cruyff Turn was about 6-1, 11-2 in that sort of region. I'd have him a little bit shorter than that.
Good analysis there at Cruyff Turn for Quentin. An interesting horse, obviously. Me and John know this horse quite well because we were in Champagne and in Clover at York after this one at a big price in the York Handicap, beating the current Frankie Dettori Mount, Magical Morning, in the finish there at York. I actually think, that Thick Dave might have visited India at some point in between York and Ayr, because for some reason he bounced it out at York, did Thick Dave, and then coming to Ayr, he took it back. He absolutely just took it right back out of the telly. And I remember saying after 2 furlongs, I often make comments in running, and I thought, you're stopping this. But it probably wasn't. It was just, I just didn't get
it. We know that.
Well, no, Martin Dwyer's proved that. But it's anyway, it was odd. I thought
it was a strange one.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't expect that. That was left field for me, that one. But yeah, you're right. Cruyff Turn comes in tremendous heart. You were saying about Nugget. I read the Highclere website, and they said it was struck into in the Thirsk Cup quite badly, actually. It was quite an open flesh wound, and they've given him the summer off to recover. What I find interesting with this is I do think Nugget's the best horse in the race. I agree with you, Quentin, about the pace. And how bothered they might be on Nugget, because Nugget's entered in the Balmoral on the 16th. Which is obviously a massive value handicap, enormous value handicap, on the 16th of October. Now, why would they want a penalty for that when they're guaranteed to get in? I think the number 26 on the list, which gets them in. You'd be sort of a bit mental, in my view, to show up and be that bothered here to win 12,000 when you could have whatever the penalty is. I don't know if it's £4 or £3.
It's also the only other side of that is good mover by Sayuni. I suspect they'll have him in the sales, won't they? So do they want to bump up his mark by potentially picking up a soft £5 here to add a 50 odd grand onto his sales price if he goes to a horse in training?
This is it. Reading in between the lines, we can all get a bit cross wires and a bit too bit Quanon, bit David Icke, and a bit conspiracy theorist. But that's how I saw Nugget. But I do like Nugget as a horse. I think he's I think a strongly run mile, I think he's a really, really good horse. And maybe that's the plan, the Balmoral. Maybe they'll just leave him a tad short for tomorrow, come on nicely for the run, and then maybe head to the Balmoral and run a big one. Who knows? John, your thoughts on this?
I think it's an awful race.
Do you know? Oh, there's one thing I forgot to add. I'm scratching my head why Noble Dynasty's 7-4. I'm scratching my head. It's beat a horse today called a boy named Ivy ran today at York. Didn't exactly cover itself in glory. Got stuffed by 10 wickets at York. A boy named Ivy's only fairly moderate anyway in terms of a form level. Yeah. I'm struggling to ascertain why that's 7-4. I've tried to scratch my head. I mean, that's why I agree with Quentin's selection in a way. How is that around the 6-1 mark? Cruyff turn, and Noble Dynasty 7-4 for beating a boy named Ivy.
It's carroted up, wouldn't you?
Well, the carrots are strong at the moment. The force is strong with the Arabian.
48 carat bet.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously, I'm good. I'll go with Quentin on Cruyff turn. I think that's a very, very sporting chance that, and I like the odds. He's right. It's not 6-1. What do you think?
I respect Cruyff turn. My concern is his horse's manner. He's a little bit skittery in the paddock. He's a little bit hot backed. Cam's never ridden him before. That might be an issue. At the price, you're probably getting compensated for that. If I had to have, thank Christ I don't, I'd probably back a fac.
You don't give a fuck.
Exactly. I think it's reasonably handicapped at present. He probably showed enough on debut this year to say he's got a race of this nature in him. Why would you keep persevering with the Hunt Cup winner? You know, I mean, you're finishing him off, really, couldn't you? But the sticking on. It's not a race I care to get involved in all honesty.
No, fair enough. Obviously a fact, bit of backclass, like you said, John, but now 7. And John doesn't fancy the race. Quentin, I agree with Quentin's Cruyff turn, so we'll move on. It's hard to say be against Noble Dynasty because if Nugget is 11-4 out of 9-2, you kind of know where that's going to finish. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say play Noble Dynasty if Nugget's a complete nugget. So yeah, it's a tricky race, but maybe Quentin's on the right path there. 240, the second one on the. Oh, by the way, chaps, have I got something else wrong? I've already got the Newmarket races wrong. Now, I've only counted 6 ITV races. Am I right?
Yep.
I've got
6.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Thank God for that, because they always have an ITV 7. I always think, well, they have 7 ITV races. I was worried again that I've missed a race.
Well, probably have one, yeah.
6.
Yeah, C now. I'm going to see it anyway. So there is 6. So 240 Haydock. It's the 5 furlong head. Your hunch at Betway handicap. A 0-105 affair. 10 go to post. Jawal is the 7-2 market leader. And then Copper Knight is next in at 9-2 for Tim Easterby and Ella McCain. They've got some sort of strike rate. John, I sound like Peter Naughton there. John, away you go.
Some sort of strike rate. Oh my God.
I did sound like Peter Naughton there. I'm saying it and I'm thinking, this sounds like Peter Naughton.
It's not a good thing to sound like, is it?
No, I'm having a bad episode. It's one of these mares that,
Sounding like Peter Naughton is marginally better than sounding like a bowel movement.
He'll be there tomorrow. He's odds on with Ironside, isn't he? There'll be Howard and Naughton at Haydock tomorrow. That's got to be a shoo-in, isn't it, on racing TV?
Absolutely. I mean, my God.
Yeah. How many Scoop 6s have you won, John?
Eh?
How many Scoop 6s have you won?
Oh. One less.
Yeah. Anyway, John, let you go.
Well, I thought initially that Mondamech and Joal would have this run to suit, and it's the ideal track for them, not too big a fail, they'll both come through on the bit and fight it out. Then I had a look at how the race might pan out, and it looks like Copper Knight will probably get the softest of all softies.
Yeah.
Which doesn't inspire confidence, because, it probably won't get home off the revised mark and stiffer track than, it didn't the other time against Mondamech. I'm inclined to think Premier Power, which ought to be ridden a little bit handier than Mondamedge and Joel, ran quite okay-ish in the Portland. I'd maybe be inclined to give that a cautious twirl. Its best form seems to be in like sort of single fit 8 and 9 runner fields, that type of thing, you know. This will probably suit Premier Power best of the lot, but again, it's a messy looking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the key form line for me is the Joal Copper Knight Mondamedge form. You know, when the Haydock run, the course and distance run. So you've got Copper Knight in second, Mondamedge came through to win, and Joal, which kind of messed it at the start a little bit. He came through to fourth. It's a key form line. You probably, you know, you could toss a coin in the air, which probably one of those three is going to come out on top. I agree with you, John. Copper Knight could get the softie of softies, and then that could make that dangerous.
Again, it's had tick there on the last 5 times. New jockey, Ella McCain. I know she's done all right this year, but you know, making all in a decent sprint at Haddock, a bit of an ask.
Well, as long as I think if Tim gives it right instructions and just said blast, make sure you get ready at the gates and blast off. I think you get the free 5 in a way, because there's not a lot else to do over 5, is there, than just blast off and just do what you do. I mean, Dave can't be £5 better than Ella McCain if Della does all that and rides to his.
You're £5 clear of everybody in the North League.
He is, to be fair. We all love Thick Dave up here. But I mean, for me, the only one outside that form line that I like were Premier Power, because I think he's very unexposed at the minimum trip. And I always level this at trainers. When you've got a fast, keen horse, and they always still run them at 6. So what they'll do is a 2-year-old, really fast, it catches pigeons, and then they'll debut them over 6. Then they don't debut them over 5. It's as if it's shameful to debut over 5. And a number of times Charlie Hills has stepped them back in trip. There's lots of trainers that step them back in trip after they've finally realised this ain't going home. Over 7, no, down a 6, then 5, and finally they'll find the correct trip. And I think this showed enough in the Portland Premier Power last time, because it was travelling with Hurricane Ivor. It kind of had more tactical speed than Hurricane Ivor for strides, and then obviously just got tired. I don't think the ground would have been ideal either that day. Little bit too much juice, perhaps, given the fact that, you know, he's a horse by Siuni, Shamad Almare, not so sure that good to soft's what it wants. And I just think it's very unexposed at the 5. Down to 95, that could, you know, these are what we call, you know, Copper Knight, Joal, Mondamedge, all, you know, you run-of-the-mill B-class handicappers. You know, we do think Mondamedge will I think Mondamedge will end up 100, but it's one of them. Premier Power just could be that, just have that little bit extra, I think, over the 5. But again, 11-2, I'd go each way Premier Power. I think that's my selection, 11-2 with David Egan. Quentin, your thoughts?
You and John have not taken my selection, but yeah, I agree with you both on Premier Power. Really like him, but not really like him, but yeah. I like the angle dropping to 5. He went well through the Portland, and I don't think it's a bad Portland. He like you said, he blew past Hurricane Ivor for a couple of strides, 2 out. He's by Siuni. I don't think he liked the ground, and then just didn't really get home. Dropped the 5-note pace. Hopefully they go forward and just make use of him. To be honest, that's what I'd like. And he you know what, he may just be an all-weather horse. And if that's the case, then there's a 0-95 at Wolves over 6 next weekend. So we can double up and back him again there.
That's it. So yeah, that's Quentin's already eyed the potential follow up on next run for. Yeah, so I think we've summed that race up. Thank you for your selections, chaps. We'll go to the Beresford at the Curragh before we start Newmarket. The races I don't know. The 2:30 at the Curragh, it's over a mile. It's a Group 2 affair. 5 go to post, and 11-10 market leader is the Aidan O'Brien trained Luxembourg. And John, did you have any thoughts in this?
Yeah, I think Swan Bay will beat it.
All right, go.
I've been impressed with Swan Bay. I think it's ours. This is probably a fairly acid test for him. It was very well back first time up this, and proper look the part, I thought. It ran at the Curragh. Didn't get the best of runs through, but it finished its race off lovely. And then made no mistake knocking its maiden off. I'd chanced this against the once raced Luxembourg, who, he didn't really light a fire under me when he won. So, yeah, I'm going with Swan Bay.
Good stuff, and that's available at 2-1 for the rather informed. Well, I say he's rather informed. He's training a lot of jumps winners at the moment. Is the baby Joseph, so he's doing well with his twig hoppers. So Swan Bay for John and Shane Cross is in the saddle at 2-1. Quentin, I know Irish racing is not particularly your massive strong point, but did you get a look at the main two protagonists in this?
Yeah. I had to watch. I like the way Swan Bay did it at Galway. He just kind of put them to the sword and powered clear. You suspect he'll try and do similar front running at the Curragh is no bad thing, is it? Luxembourg was impressive, but you kind of look at the race and you had the 7-2 second favourite pull up, I think it was. So what's that? 22% of the book gone already there.
Yeah,
he was fine, like nothing more, nothing less, just fine. I'd like the uncomplicated one, to be honest. In Swan Bay, I'd probably have them a little closer together. I wouldn't have Luxembourg odds on, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting. So that's two of our panelists on Swan Bay for the baby Joseph, and I totally understand the points of view. I think he's very likeable, Swan Bay. He idled quite a lot at Galway when in front. He still went clear while sort of doing that. He's clearly got plenty of ability. Lloyd Williams is obviously desperate to have some sort of a Derby winner, and you know. I'm not knocking this horse at all. Australia's, you know, I like a lot of Australia's. So obviously, I remember Galileo Chrome winning the Ledger, and that was a great result for me. So you know, I do think that's got a real good future as a 3-year-old. I do think Luxembourg has a touch of class. I think he's got a big stride, and I don't think Killarney suited him very well because it's quite a tight bend at Killarney before they turn in. And I kept watching his stride length, and I'm thinking, you know, you've got quite a big stride, you have, your big bugger. But he's a bit ungainly. He's a Camelot. The mother, obviously, I mean, it's a useful family. So, you know, it's Leo de Fiore. You know, be sort of like triple figures. Luxembourg, I think it's one of those races for me. I have to sit it out because I agree with John and Quentin regarding Swan Bay. I do like that horse, but Luxembourg for me might have that bit of X factor, but he does look ungainly. So I'm sorry to sit on the fence, but that's where I'm at the prices. It's one of those. I'm finding it tricky to sort of know which side I want to be on. Maybe if there's a market drift, I might decide to plunge. But tricky affair there at Curragh. So we'll move to Newmarket, where hopefully we've got some more solid choices for you, and I'm sure we have. And we're going to start off with the Royal Lodge. Ian Davis's question. It's a Group 2 affair, and Massey Kayla, a horse that I've backed this season a couple of times. He heads the market for Andrew Balding as 2-1 market leader. With Oisin Murphy in the saddle. So, Quentin, I'm going to come to you first with your opinion on the Royal Lodge.
It's an interesting race. The makeup, the track, the small field, the stalls in the middle, which is I kind of gone backwards and forwards. I like Caribus. I like the way he did it. The time wasn't flash, but they went steady. They quick and clear. It was a big old slab of a horse, and It was just hands and heels. Muscala had the run of things at Newbury. That form's been franked. But I kind of feel Royal Patronage has the best form in the race. And I can see why, in my opinion, he's been underestimated in the market. He's gone off, 25s at York and burst everyone's bubble. But he's simple.
Sank my battleship, he did that. But
you and me both.
Yeah.
he's simple, he's uncomplicated. It's a front-running gas pit, and they're just going to bounce him out and try and take everyone out of their comfort zone. The time was good. The form is fine, but I just feel he's underestimated because of the SPs and people not believing that line of form, believing what he did then. That's the way I would be leaning towards it. I didn't mind one for the gutters run in Deauville. He was still a little bit green and kept on all the way to the line. Kept on really well, actually. I think it was Ian Williams' first 2-year-old winner on debut, which means he might be a bit handy. That was interesting. I didn't particularly like Howarth. I didn't like the way he went about things and the way he used himself. Seattle King, I don't think is up to this level, and the same with Frankie's mount. So yeah, it's the kilt for me.
The kilt?
Was he 3 to 1?
100 to 30, best price.
Even better.
The kilt for Mark Johnson and Jason Hart to try and blast off over the favourable front-running course that the Rowley sometimes is. Newmarket obviously has certain biases, and some industry professionals for years can't work out why, when generally it's usually it's where the wind blows. Well, there's not really much wind behind at Newmarket, but there's no headwind, so basically that's what's important at Newmarket if you're trying to do the business from the front. John, do you share Quentin's confidence in the kilt?
Well, you'll never hear me express any kind of confidence. The only way I'd like to see the kilt win a race like this is in the show of final. It'll spanner the horse's derby prep up anywhere next year. Obviously, I'm not going to tip that. I mean, Masakela, well, I mean, the story of Masakela really, he beat the man who got beat by the man, but got beat by the man less than the man that beat the other man got beat. The form was kind of tie in with the variant horse that won the Champagne Stakes.
Yeah.
You got the big horse that won the National Stakes. So, I mean, for me, he's the proper form choice. But I really did like that Caribus when he won on debut. I mean, it was back like it was a monster anyway. It's got a fair bit to find. I couldn't back it at the price, but I tend to think it's the most likely winner, believe it or not. I'd want a bit more wiggle room in the price, I think, to justify backing it. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see it break these.
It's funny you say this, because when Quentin said it, he's a big slab of a horse. Exactly that. Very taking physically. And let's be fair here, right? The time wasn't like, there's nothing about the performance that screams, oh well, this is. But then the one it beat was obviously Saga, who then beat Koi Koi, who then beat.
They both won in good times, didn't they? Saga and Koi Koi, Ascot and Newbury. So
if you go on that, this horse could be. I mean, physically, he's the one that. This is the one that if any of us could afford this, we'd be saying yes, this is the one we're buying, and that's the one we're taking with us home. And
if I can afford that, I'd just piss the sport off and never have another.
You would be sat here with me, would you? No chance.
Out of it. Yeah,
no chance. You sold everything. You take everything.
Catch me buying a fucking house.
But yeah, I mean, so it'd be Coribus for me for the same reasons as John. I can't give you a time reason from the debut or a form rating to say yes, this will beat a horse that's beat a horse that's beat a horse that's beat a horse. But definitely it's Caribus for me and John, and Quentin's going with the kilt to make all and basically piss on everyone's parade.
What price would both of you, John and Lee, what price would appeal? What price would you go, you know what, there's enough wiggle room in that for me to back him tomorrow? Caribus, that is.
I think 3 to 1. I'd allow 1 point for something going wrong, so that makes it 2-1, and obviously 1 point for the fact that it's not up to the standard of Masakela in terms. I mean, Masakela is definitely running to sort of like anywhere between 105 and 110. So we've got to be fairly certain that this horse can step forward significantly because even the horse it beat at Newmarket is not going to at this moment in time is not going to be 105, 110. So we're relying on potential here. And Charlie Appleby, even though he's having a stellar season with the Carrots, he's not really renowned for 2-year-old winners first time out. They kind of always come on quite a bit for the run. Well, if this comes on a bit, I mean, you've seen our native trails improve this year. I mean, it's one of those. Coribus to me looks a monster, and so I'm gonna say it's as if the work lads are already piling in. It's 9-4. It's one of them. It'll probably end up over bet. And I just sit there and watch it and watch it win by 5 and think, we're nothing on. But yeah, so yeah, that's where I'm at there. So that's the Royal Lodge covered. Hope you found that interesting. 225 is the Cheverley Park Stakes, not run later in the month as I thought. It's actually tomorrow. And Sacred Bridge heads the field, 2-1 for Lions. And the head waiter in Colin Keane, but I don't think he'll be head waiting on this because he goes handy on this. Sacred Bridge 2-1. John Leng, what are we saying?
It's a fair race, this, isn't it? I mean, there's not a lot between Sandrine and Zane Fardette on the York running. You chuck in the filly, and you'd say it's a sort of three-way spin-up, but the one I'm interested in, actually, is the one that now they've decided to let her stride, and they've given up trying to choke her in the races early on, is Flotus. Because I think this will definitely get an easy time of it on the front end, and I think given an easy time on the front end, she won't be pulling like Rolf, and I think at worst, this is a good back to lay, you know. So I've already had a little bit on this, and I might have some more because I think I'll be able to get out and running if I want. But yeah, I like that a little bit there. I think it's a good price.
Flotus and the Doyler, the Doyler has got his critics, but the one track he rides quite well is Newmarket. He just seems to get it right a lot. Over this course and distance, same as the July course. Quentin, so Flotus for John, for you, Quentin.
Flotus for me as well.
Ooh,
similar reasons. You know what they're going to do. Well, what they done last time at Ripon, they're just going to send her forward, let her roll. It's Newmarket. It's paid to be handy this week. Not sure what the wind is saying tomorrow, to be honest. But
it's not in the face, so
nothing, not in their face. So fine, perfect. I don't mind stall 13. You're nearest to rail if they want to go towards the rail. I know the stalls are up the centre, but Goodwood, she was special on debut. She looked really good then. Kind of went missing, and then found her stride again last time out. So yeah, like John said, a good back to lay if anything. There, you should be able to get out with the especially with the camera angles they seem to use at Newmarket for those playing without the drone. It seems to favour the near side, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're chasing one there, you sort of think, Christ, that's well clear, and then next thing when the angle changes, you're not. But you should get out of trouble, that's for sure.
Good stuff, chaps. Like your reasonings, the pair of you, and very available at a very generous 11-1. So that might be one for our listeners there, if you like that. Drawn there in stall 13 on the wing, blasting off. Probably to where are the stalls positioned tomorrow, Quentin? Do you know?
Centre.
So whether the Doyler will probably stands right. I don't know. Be hard to know. But like you say, out and away, that could be one for our listeners. Sacred Bridge 2-1. I can understand why it's favourite, but I'm against it for the simple reason that I don't think the Group 3 it won at the Curragh last time was anything really. It was impressive. It's hard to knock when you're winning nicely, but when you think that the second got beat just as far by Vertingus of Brian Meehan's Ayr in the Harry Rosebery, you're hardly bouncing them for a Group 1. And before that, it beat Bosch of Richard Hannon's Ultramarine, even Ever Given in fourth. Well, Ever Given's, it wasn't beaten far, and it's only 100 horse. It's not nothing spectacular. And also, if you look at the Curragh time, it was rather disappointing. Sacred Bridge won in 1:12 and 3. Goodnight Girl, who's a 6-year-old 81 handicapper, won in 3/4 of a second faster. You're hardly bouncing saying that's Group 1. I just think it's won some rather soft contests, and at 2-1, I'm really against that. And with that in mind, I'm a Sandrine fan. I'm stopping a Bar Steward special. I could have gone for Flotus, and we could have all gone bing bong Bar Steward special. But no, I'm spoiling it. I'm trying to protect his record because we're doing bad on Bar Steward specials recently. But yeah, no, Sandrine, I think he's quite disrespected by the market at 5-1. And the case I make is obviously it's the strongest 2-year-old season form in the race. It's beat Hello You in the Queen Margaret? I can't remember. And Hello You's come out today and won the Rockfell for David Loughnane, and it beat Desert Dreamer. It was second to Zane Claudette at York. Me and John were there that day. Sandrine did everything wrong, basically. Missed the start, came down the slowest part of the track, hung left to sort of challenge in the closing stages, was never getting Zane Claudette back. I think it's 100% going to reverse the form unless Ismail Mohammed's fetched some more, plenty of carrots in from the Saudi states. But Sandrine for me at 5-1 each way a pleasure. I would say I'm having a lumpy bet at 5-1 each way, Sandrine. I can't see how that's 5-1, especially when you've got Sacred Bridge at 2s. Sandrine's form's a level above Sacred Bridge. There's no one that can tell me any different on that. So yeah, that's where I stand. So Flotus for John and Quentin at a very juicy 11-1 with also get out clauses if you fancy the layout in running, and Sandrine for me. We move on to the 3 o'clock, which is the Middle Park, another race that doesn't exist tomorrow, of the 6 furlongs, only a Group 1. 10 runners go to post, and the favourite is the Richard Fahey. I see the Sheikh Rashid Dalmook Al Maktoum. He decided he'd had enough of Hannigan the Manigan with his ride at Goodwood. He said no more of that rubbish, and went straight for Soumignon, and he heads the market at 9-4. Quentin.
I started the week wanting perfect. He's the best horse in the race, I think. I think he's the best horse in the race by a fair margin. Mm-hmm. But he's a hold-up horse. He's at Newmarket. There's no pace in the race. There's absolutely no pace in the race. He done well to get out of jail in the morning. He kind of dropped out, switched sides, pushed, what's the farb thing, Trident out the way and quick and clear. Goodwood, he was the best horse in the race. I think you factor sectionals in. He was a 1.25 winner. That's not even accounting for the trouble in running. But there's no pace. It's Newmarket, and Soumignon's on. I don't really like that. He's one from 15 at Newmarket, and I know it's a different track, isn't it, to your flat tracks in France? So yeah. It's a strange booking. There's other. I know you rode the horse last time out, but it's just a strange booking for Newmarket, given the type of race. But I'm not the one making the booking, so I don't really care. I've ended up going with Go Bears Go. I liked the run last time out. He's similar to Floaters. He's uncomplicated. You know what they're going to do. They're going to bounce out. They'll try and make all. He's game. He battles. Yeah, that's the way I've looked at the race. I was surprised. If this was a flat track with any semblance of pace, I'd probably have perfect power of 5-4 poke at best. But it's not. and that's why I'm looking elsewhere. So I've had a small tickle on Go Bears Go.
I think that's pretty superbly summed up there. You've more or less, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm definite on Go Bears Go, but I like you at the prices, 8-1 Go Bears Go. And I think that could be a smidgen of value. You know, like you say, it's already beaten Dr. Zemf, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I beat him at the car.
Yeah. So you know, that seems a little bit strange why that's at the 8-1 mark. And like you say, probably more uncomplicated than the favourite. But you are correct. The favourite is, I would say, a couple of lengths the best against these. But like you also rightly point out that this horse will be probably, well, I would say more than likely be dropped out. So that leaves a quandary for punters on this track. So perfectly summed up by Quentin. That's exactly sort of my thoughts. I'm more or less going to play the racing running with Perfect Power. I want to see sort of what pace they go, what, you know, like before, because I'm even happy to take 5-4 Perfect Power if they go blast off and there's plenty of pace, and you know this is sort of sat travelling nicely just on the heels, that kind of thing. I'm happy to take a lot shorter. So that's how I stand on the race. John, your thoughts on that?
Well, if me and Franks don't land the Yankee tomorrow, I'll stand tapping.
The thing is, the way I've got on this pod, you know, I don't even know what races are right, and I've made myself look right wagon. And you two are all agreeing on everything. So, I mean, there's something in this.
There's not a lot I can add to what Quentin said, actually. Other than I think Go Bears Go is going to be extremely dangerous. I think it'll be a good day for the ammo team. I think we've got plenty of ammo, and I've had an each-way double in the two-year-old Group 1s.
Interesting. Which
I think could pay nice dividends. Anyway, well, I think it's about 70-1 anyway, the each-way double, from memory. I think that's what I'm on at. You know, I think they've both got outstanding chances, and I think they've both got good chances of getting softies. So I'm not exactly balls deep, but I've had a fair old shot at them.
Good stuff. So this is it. Quentin and John both agree again on Go Bears Go. This will finish me if Flotus lags up, Go Bears Go lands up, or Leng gets his each way doubling, etc. You know, this will finish me off, I think. But this is true judges. We only have true judges on this show, and John and Quentin again agreeing. Do you agree? Also interesting. We'll go to our final race of this pod, which is the 340 race. It's the Cambridgeshire. And good old Frankie threw me a curveball with Uncle Bryn. And I backed this anti-post 8-1. It's now 9-1. In fact, even Chichester's shorter in places as Frankie's turned down Uncle Bryn, which obviously I thought was a good win after the gelding up, because I don't think a slowly run mile trying to make all was his barrow at all. I mean, don't forget, this was John Gosden's Derby horse. Ran in the Dante, so a slowly run mile, still managed to win. I'm absolutely perplexed by Frankie's decision, unless of course it was down to maybe a gallop that we don't know. You know, it could have worked poorly. You know, whatever.
This is dead, isn't it?
Well, that's how I see it.
It's come out of Ascot dead.
Yeah,
I wouldn't pick it.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. Because he's picked a horse that is essentially, and it's only favourite because he's picked it. Yeah. So the market's assessing it can't work out. Uncle Bryn, if Frankie Dettori would have chosen Uncle Bryn, it's going off probably 7-2 favourite.
Yeah.
Now the fact he hasn't chosen it suggests that there's probably a duff gallop somewhere, like you say, completely brown bread since, and he's chosen a horse. In my view, is certainly not good enough to win a Cambridgeshire off 106. It's just my view. I mean, the Cruyff Turn beat this, and you're getting 6-1 Cruyff Turn to win an ordinary Haydock handicap. I mean, as Quentin pointed out, you know, how is Cruyff Turn 13-2, for example? It's beat Magical Morning at York, A Magical Morning is 7-1 to win a Cambridgeshire. It's the most bizarre. Either this is a big plot and it's just for the lads in the yard to all pummel it tomorrow into 3-1. Because don't forget, Rab's won twice on it. But I just don't understand it for 1 minute. It's a curveball and it's confused me. But I'm going to stick with my anti-post bet on Uncle Bryn. John, I'll come to you.
As I pointed out, I think Uncle Bryn is sadly no longer with us.
All right.
He's obviously got it ready for Ascot, and he's, he's just a prime bounce candidate now, isn't he? The way things are moving here. The one I'm interested in actually is from the Ascot race, and that's Fantastic Fox, a horse that I've got a lot of time for, despite him misbehaving on several occasions. I think the good thing here is that he hasn't got old concrete hands on him. Atzini won't have the same trouble with this horse. He's running on home turf and he'll settle a lot better with the pace that's on. He was favourite to beat Uncle Bryn last time. It was way too free. It was ridiculous, to be honest. If he'd run that race properly, he was value for being somewhere near Uncle Bryn, I thought. The pace as well seems middle of the stand side. You've got Owen's horse looks set to probably go too much up the middle because there's a few nasty lurkers, so I think they'll get him at it a bit too early. I can't see him getting home. They might even go fast enough to bring in a couple of dropout performers like Baltic Baron and Power of Darkness if you want some massive prices. And another interesting one as well is Zosimus, believe it or not, trained by the Fetus. Very interesting, this, on the run behind Salamarak at Leopardstown, I think it was. I had him written 97 there. He was too close to too fast a pace, and it looked like getting the swamp, but he kept on quite nicely. Stays this trip very well, potential to maybe even get a bit further. Lorden's probably the best jockey that's stuck up this season on this one as well. Not sure about 90. I certainly won't be letting that run loose. But the main action tomorrow will concern Fantastic Fox.
Great preview. So Fantastic Fox, obviously behind Uncle Bryn, but obviously off that slow gallop, John. And we all know Fantastic Fox's ability without the old stone hands in the saddle. 22-1. It's a nice shot. He says Zosimus as well. Don't let that go unbacked for the Fetus. At around 40s, you'll probably get bigger on the machine if you wait.
Just took a bit of 90, actually.
90s for John on the machine as we speak. You see, you'll not beat John in. You'll end up with 60s. John's on at 90s. He's like that. He gives you nothing. Quentin, your analysis on the Cambridgeshire, please.
I wanted one on each side. The pace is high. High stalls to middle stalls. So I've gone with the truth be told, the prices. I've watched the price ebb away since we started recording. It's like 25s and 22s, and it's now, what are we at? 16, 12 to 1, 18 in a place, but that looks like it'll go. So anyway, the one that horse that came second last year, Ray from Ralph's, Lakanda. He looks, for an each way bet, what have we got? I think there's a few firms paying 7 and 8 places. He just looks rock solid to run his race. It was better than the Bear result at York last time out, further back than ideal in a steadily run race. And then kind of tried to make ground in the slop in the centre of the track. He was second here last year. There's a high draw. He's £3 lower here, and he just looks solid. He just looks solid for one in the place market.
It's very interesting. Very interesting.
The one on the other side, which is probably more win only dart. I think he's let's have a quick look. 70, 75, 80. Is Breath Court, trained by Michael Bell. Was with Rafe Ralph, but switched yards with the whole ammo racing debacle. They had a stable switcher in the shape of Prince Alex win first up. He won the Silver Cambridgeshire last year. It was a 6 or 7 runner race, a Mickey Mouse affair, but he's gone well here, and hopefully he just sticks limpet like the Far Rail, and at them odds he's worth a small win only bet. Ground wouldn't have suited last time at Sandown either. He should get good fast ground, which you'll like. So that'll be my take on the Cambridgeshire.
Lovely stuff. So from Quentin, we've got his sort of outside choice in Breath Court at massive odds, currently 50-1 available. And interestingly, Quentin makes reference to Lacanda. Price is under pressure, though. This could be price-wise. This could be everyone's whatever. This could be the steamer. Because Nick Davis, one of our contributors, he'll be out beating Chelsea fans up, Millwall fans up, and going round the books in London tonight, smashing. It's Nick Davis. That's who's taking the price, Quentin. Nick Davis will be around London tonight, taking the prices in the shops on Luke Andy's and Mark's face. You know, he'd probably come with blood on his hands. He's smashing up Chelsea and Millwall. A disgrace of a man, and he's ruined it for everyone. I mean, you know, this is what Davis does. So Lucander for Davis and Quentin. So again, we've got some double prongs here. There's some power judges on some nice price horses for the cast this weekend. And just to finish the cast off this week, John, you've got Ginger Hitler's 2 for the Cambridgeshire.
He was on earlier. I think he's angling to get back on the show sooner rather than later.
Well, later rather than sooner from our perspective.
Yeah, I mean that's the way we'd all look at it. All right thinking people would look at it, wouldn't they? And obviously he loves the obvious ones, and he's gone for the shagging shirt with Irish Admiral. He thinks taking Redcar form into a big Newmarket Handicap's a smart move, you know. And he's also gone for last year's winner. So he's probably taken all the 45 seconds to pick them out while he was sat on the bog.
And there you have it. I mean, this show's got it all, really. Like Peter Naughton and incompetence from me. Some amazing double-pronged selections from John Quentin. Matching Davis, who's waltzing around London as we speak. We hope you enjoyed this show. We're back on Sunday. There's myself, John, and Lorne Malvo, who's another Southern fool, to chew the fat of this week. And we might touch on the banks debate and all the affordability checks where we can't have a bet anymore because we're all told we're idiots and, you know, bad gamblers and, you know, Orange Man bad, gambling bad. You know, everyone loves to attack and cancel everything that we enjoy doing. So we all go underground in casinos, underground casino. You know, it's how it's gone through society. But anyway, it's a subject for Sunday, so don't forget to tune in then. We hope you enjoyed this show like we did. And that's all from us. Bye for now.